So what I was gonna do originally is like this. I had all sorts of crazy stuff go on, but I was gonna make up like a Christmassy song that was gonna go. And
hey, Merry Christmas! It's ComicsOnline.com podcast at Flashback Comics in Woodbridge, Virginia.
Yeah, something like that. But it was gonna I was gonna rhyme Marc Lutz, and I couldn't. And it was like, I was gonna Brittany who edits, because it was gonna be like a Rudolph.
Oh.
You know, that's where I was going. Originally, I was gonna go with something a little bit different. But anyway, I didn't quite make it. So I got too busy. Hello again, and welcome to the Comics Online Podcast, Season 15, Episode 14. I'm your host, Kevin Gaussoin, and with me today, as usual, is my co-host, Troy David Phillips, store manager here at Flashback Comics and Games here in Woodbridge, Virginia.
Welcome back to Flashback Comics here in Woodbridge, Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. Troy David Phillips here, as usual, with the host of the ComicsOnline.com podcast, Kevin Gaussoin.
And we've got matching ties because it's the holiday season's greetings, everyone.
Actually, we have matching ties because Kevin brought matching ties.
Well, you know, and see, Marc, our producer, cameraman extraordinaire, said, hey, you guys should do this in tuxes because this is like almost like an award show. This is our best of 2014 show. We do this every year on the Comics Online podcast, and I'm bringing it to you, the Flashback viewer. So you're welcome.
Yes, indeed.
If this is the first time, you've watched this version, this annual show,
we're sorry. No.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome. He's sorry.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, so we got a bunch of stuff to talk about here.
A bunch of stuff. So this is the best of 2014, and like I said, we've been doing this every year on the podcast. These shows tend to go long. Hopefully, won't go too crazy this year.
Yeah, because I'm ravenously hungry.
I'm hungry too. So we're gonna do part one, which is just the games, just the comics. We could do games too. Do you want to do games too?
I'm a little woefully behind in my games.
We're gonna do just the comics.
We're gonna do the comics
in part one, and being as though Troy David is the comics. Just what do you call yourself?
The Encyclopedia Troitanica.
The Encyclopedia Troitanica.
That's what other people call me. I am much more humble about my comic base.
The comic sage of Northern Virginia.
I'm really more like the comic base. I'm more like the comic treble.
No, sage. I said sage.
Yeah.
So we want to go through our categories. These are a little bit awards showy.
Kind of, yeah. Now, to start, I'm going to kick right into ongoing.
Best ongoing for 2014.
Now, there are a lot of choices here, and there are a lot of really awesome ongoing books. And here is how I picked my choice. Mm-hmm. I read a lot of comics. Excuse me. I read a lot of mainstream Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse. I read a lot of stuff. A lot of superhero stuff. I love Axis. I love Future's End. I love Batman Eternal. Love Spider-Verse. Green Lantern, Godhead. Superman. I love the Doom storyline. I'm loving Superman, Wonder Woman. I'm very, very excited about the David Finch artwork in Wonder Woman, and so on. Fire and Stone, Dark Horses, Aliens, Prometheus, Aliens, Predator, the mashup title there, the mashup line. Image has a lot of things, but there is one Image book that gravitates to the top of my pile every month against the type of everything else that I read. And that book is Jonathan Luna's Alex and Ada.
Wow.
So as I sit down and I've got Captain America, Captain Marvel, Thor, Iron Man, The Avengers, I've got Green Lantern, Flash, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, etc. I've got these things and I love them, every single one. But Alex and Ada, this is a book that in 11 issues, no fight scenes, no huge explosions, no car chases down the road, etc., etc. It's a story of two people, one of them being synthetic, that would be Ada, and Alex, the man who owns her? How exactly do you define this relationship? And this book is about defining that relationship. Alex's relationship with Ada, Ada's relationship with the world around her. She's a sentient android, illegally so, and this book is rife with social commentary. The allegory about Ada and her rights as a synthetic could be allegorical to a lot of minorities and rights. The story could be read on multiple levels. And because of the depth and sophistication of the story writing, the characterization, and the fact that for a book that is not, I mean, it's not chock full of nudity. It's not chock full of mature, edgy themes, but it's very maturely written. It's very intelligently written. It's beautifully illustrated. The artwork serves the tone of the book, so it has kind of a clean, pristine, smooth-lined appearance to it. Some people have actually referred to it as sterile. That's not a bad word to use, but it's not the word that I would have chosen right at first. In any event, for all that adds up, Alex and Ada gets my money for the new best ongoing of 2014.
Well, that's the new best one. So
yes.
that's
well, I mean, it's only been running for 2014. It's only 11 issues in.
You know, I was going to mention that on our list, we often will do a new book, and I didn't actually have that on this list, so I'm glad you said it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, usually we'll say ongoing as in it might have started this year or it might have started 30 years ago, doesn't matter, and then we'll have a separately something that did start this year, you know, our best new comic.
Now, I gotta say, there were other titles, like from Dynamite Entertainment. There's Gail Simone's Red Sonja. That was definitely on my list of things to want to talk about. There have been other books like Manifest Destiny, also from Image Comics, and that's been amazing. Also from Image is Kurt Busiek's Tooth and Claw. Only 2 issues in, but man, that book is just great. And then so many of the other, you know, like I said, you know, the mainstream titles that I read, and I read a lot of them. You know, come into the shop and talk to me sometime, and you'll see just how many comics I'm reading. 122 this year. I'm up to 122 titles a month. Per month.
That is serious. So my best.
Okay.
When it comes to comics that were ongoing comics that started this year, I'm gonna have to say for this year, I'm gonna say Jay Faerber's Copperhead. Now we've every time it's come up, every month that it's come up on this show, I've said, oh, Copperhead, it's got to be one of my top 5 picks because it is such a it's perfectly written, excellent artwork. And it fills a void in the comics genre landscape that really nobody else is touching that right now, and it's. You might say, well, you could say, oh, Tooth and Claw is kind of that sort of thing, but this...
That's really got more of a swords and sorcery feel.
Right, whereas this is more hard sci-fi.
Hard sci-fi, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's frontiersy. I mean, it's set out in the outskirts, on a distant planet. The main character, Clara, is the sheriff on this frontier planet, and Boo, which, because his name is so very long and difficult to pronounce, it's just Boo. That's his, the deputy who was passed over for the promotion to sheriff, and just... There's a lot goes on with this. Now, this book does have a little bit more action to it. There's a theft mystery and a murder mystery.
Yeah.
There's kind of a mysterious stranger from off in the wildlands. It's a good book. I read Copperhead also. In fact, I'm the one who brought it to Kevin's attention.
And thank you very much, Troy. Had I noticed that Jay Faerber had started a new one, I probably would have picked it up anyway. But without you, I wouldn't have actually noticed it. I would have skipped it. Yeah. Because I thought, oh, another Image book, and don't get me wrong, Image isn't to be trifled with, but there's only so many tries that I can give. Oh, look, here's another number one. Here's another number one.
Well, Kevin, if you read 122 comics like I do, then you wouldn't have that problem.
And nor would I have money or food for the table, but I would be so saturated with delicious storytelling.
Yeah, please don't feel sorry for this man, ladies and gentlemen. What's your take-home salary? What are you making, like $400,000 a year now?
Am I? Wait. I need to go call my wife and find out where the money is going. Because apparently Nightcrawler is here.
Oh, my goodness.
Do you know Nightcrawler?
I'm not 100% sure.
There's somebody that's weird. There's somebody whose license plate is Nightcrawler.
Oh,
I'm not sure if it's the elf or it's that movie that has nothing to do with X-Men.
We're going ongoing. That was Alex and Ada from me and Copperhead from you.
Now, that's new ongoing.
Right.
For my ongoing, my non-new ongoing, it would be, and this is the same thing I've said every year. So ongoing, it's still The Walking Dead.
Still The Walking Dead.
It has not changed. That is. I mean, that's the one that I read. If it comes out, I've got to read it immediately. So, and that's mine.
Now, when it comes to ongoing books that didn't start this year but have been ongoing,
yeah.
Okay, there are a lot of books that kind of float toward the top of my head, but honestly, I have to say I think the book that has been the most consistently good, that isn't Alex and Ada,
All right.
it isn't Godzilla, consistently good from beginning to now is the team of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo on DC's New 52 Batman.
It's the reason to buy New 52, in my opinion.
From the Court of the Owls all the way through 0 Year, and now in the Endgame, and Endgame is up. Look at that, Kev. You see that?
Whoa. Actual goosebumps.
This is real.
Thinking about Scott Snyder's Batman and Greg Capullo, obviously.
Greg Capullo's Batman. I met Greg Capullo at the Baltimore Comic Con. Wonderful gentleman. Humble fellow.
I don't think I've met him. We interviewed Scott Snyder on the Comics Online.
Honestly, seemed genuinely happy to meet with his fans. In that regard, reminds me of George Perez.
That guy.
And Mark Waid.
Definitely.
Mark Begley. Several other artists that I've met who just seemed like they're glad to be with their fan bases. And Greg Capullo was definitely, hey, thanks for the compliments, thanks for reading. Wow, I'm glad you're liking the work. I've got some things planned, yada yada yada. He's all into it, and he's not. He doesn't have rock star attitude. He's not all full of himself. Great guy. So the two of them, Batman. New 52 Batman that's got my pick right now for best ongoing. Again, it's just been so consistently good.
Hard to argue with that. So
but you're going to argue all the same.
No. I mean, I'm saying, even though it's New 52, it's bulletproof. I can't say anything bad about it at all. Which for me, that's saying a lot.
Yeah. It really is.
So our next category, let's move on to our next category. Our next category will be individual issue or graphic novel. So not an arc or a trade paperback, because we'll have that as a category as well.
Yeah.
But individual comic or graphic novel. Troy.
Okay, graphic novels. There are a bunch of choices. Original, and I'm talking graphic novels, not trade paperbacks, not compilations, not albums, not reissues, etc. But new original material, new art, new story. There are two right now bumping elbow to elbow. One of them is the fifth Beatle.
Oh, right.
But one of them, the other one, is actually the Thanos Revelation.
Okay.
The Jim Starlin Thanos graphic novel Revelation. I'm still closing up the final pages on that book, but man, it's good. You like Jim Starlin? You like Thanos? Okay, match made in heaven right there.
I gotta read that.
Yeah.
I really gotta read that. That's. I'm glad you reminded me, actually.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to remind you.
Yeah. Mine, when it comes to individual issue, and this is almost a cheat because it's a bit of an anthology, but that Marvel Comics 75th anniversary book.
Yeah. Anthological to be sure, but that was really good. My favorite part was the new art to the old Stan Lee prose story that Captain America foils the traitor's revenge.
That was great. And then, of course, like I said in a previous episode, I was really, at that point, I hadn't read it yet, but I was really looking forward to a new story with the original writer and artist of Alias. Jessica Jones, as you know, is coming to television.
Yes.
Or to Netflix at the very least. And, just to have Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gaydos going back into Jessica Jones, which I loved Alias. That was honestly that's one of my very favorite series of all time.
I started getting into that book. Alias, here's my time range, because I have to come backwards on that time period.
Yeah.
Alias, NYX, but Daredevil. From Kevin Smith to Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev. Daredevil at that point pretty much captures my top. I mean, now that's several years back.
No, yeah. This is around 2000, 2001 era when those began.
Yeah, but they were, but I feel you about Jessica Jones, definitely. My real introduction to her, though, was when she was reintroduced in the New Avengers.
Sure, and I couldn't complain that they didn't use her enough, because this is, obviously the Avengers is a very much a team book. You can't spend too much time on any individual character. And while they tried to narrow their focus on Jessica and a few other characters when they were doing the magazine series that she was in.
Oh, The Pulse.
The Pulse. It was, Daily Bugle presents The Pulse, and they were doing a magazine, and it fell a little flat. I mean, I love Jessica Jones, but really I want to see her back in a monthly Marvel Max comic book.
Well,
and I'm very much looking forward to seeing her on the screen as well, but. Please, whatever you could, we need Bendis and Maleev to come back and bring her back to us, because that was such a fantastic book.
All right,
with more Power Man in every bite, so to speak.
Phrasing, context,
whatever. We got a new Power Man. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So are we down to story arc now?
Story arc or trade paperback?
Oh my, so many choices. Okay. I talk about it here in the store a lot, and there are several that have been grabbing me, but this one in particular, Kieran Gillen has been writing Über for Avatar Publishing. It's set in World War II. It gives us Nazi super soldiers. So out of the concentration camps, the Nazis have perfected super-powered men and women.
Okay.
Their secrets are stolen by an Allied spy. She brings them to Great Britain. Great Britain involves the United States. We field our own superhumans. We share it with Russia. The Germans share with Japan. So we have superhumans dotted all over the place now. This story has been so wonderful. Kieran Gillen has been working on his historical research, and he talks about that in the latter pages, kind of an editorial type.
Sure.
And he talks sometimes about going places in the story that make him uncomfortable, and that's how he knows he's doing a good job. And he says, I'm sure you, the reader, are uncomfortable with this. I'm uncomfortable with it, and I feel like that's why it needs to be in the story. And in Kanan White's art, you have to shout out Kanan White's art for Über. That's getting my vote for the story arc. I mean, just, amazement of the change in World War II, beginning with the siege of Berlin, and then just how the superhumans totally derail that. The development of characters like Battleship Sieglinde, Stephanie, the British spy, the development of the German superhumans, they're not as reprehensibly evil. They're not two-dimensional cutouts. They're not necessarily good people or nice people, but there's more to them. They're very three-dimensional. It's just, if you've not been reading it, you need to add that to the pile.
Oh, all right.
Well, you like Kanan White's art. I've shown it to you before, and you liked it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to have to show me that again, because I'm interested. Now that you've described it in detail, I'm going to have to check it out at the very least.
Yeah, Kevin's name is actually tattooed across the top of his foot so he can look down and remember it, because otherwise his memory is just,
That's not that bad, but it's getting there. It's headed in that direction, unfortunately. But let's see. So my favorite story arc or trade paperback, I think I almost want to break those out, because when you talk about story arc that occupied 2014 for me, I immediately, and forgive me again, listeners and readers? I'm not going to transcribe this. Listeners and viewers, All Out War. In
Walking Dead. That's
that's what first comes to mind, because that was amazing, and it had a very satisfying ending. And
yeah, that's like 115 to 126.
Yeah, it was long, so it was more than more.
Well, they doubled up and they did 2 issues a month. For the bulk of it. So that was. Did you get the variants, the pack of the variants, all 11 covers?
Oh God, no. I do have some variants, but not
yeah, there was like, A, B, C, D. Because of the 10-year anniversary, there were 10 covers.
Oh, I remember that.
And then the blank.
Yeah.
I actually have all 11.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
You're better than I am, Gunga Din. Anyway.
And you claim to be a Walking Dead fan.
Whatever. True story, I went to Wizard World St. Louis 2013, and there was an Arthur Sweetum cover there of like a reprint of issue 1, I believe.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. But I was there as press, and they were like, no, if you want this, you're going to have to pay the, at least a single day rate or whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, but here I am. They're like, just buy it off of somebody. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and beg at the line. I feel like a jerk. So I didn't buy one, but I really want one of those at some point, because that was, Arthur Sweetum, obviously he did all the covers for Marvel Zombies and, bazillion other things. He's an amazing artist in general, but zombies he has a particular flair for. Anyway, and the other thing, and then when we kind of nudge into out of story arc and into specifically a trade paperback, I kind of want to look at that first trade of Black Widow. That really struck a chord with me, and I thought, oh, this is just a beautiful spy series, spy thriller, and I bought that from you, and I thought, oh, I have to buy this ongoing. It's such an amazing comic, and
it's hard for me to pick a trade because the trades don't offer me anything other than I get in the single issues, and so I'm obviously right there with the single issues. I remember trades, older collections like the Legion of Superheroes, the Great Darkness Saga, and I've shouted that out before.
Certainly.
But that trade came with the big fold-out poster of all of the Legion characters. Which I didn't get that in the single issues.
And like I say, when I get a trade, like there's a series of trades that I get, which are those the hardcover, those $30 approximately, Invincibles. So you've got 12 to 13 issues of Invincible, but then you've got an issue or two worth of additional material. So you're going to have a bunch of pinups, you're going to have a bunch of commentary by the creators and and other people in the industry, interviews and such. And so those, to me, that added value was completely worth it.
Yeah.
Beyond just being a place to set my my laptop on my chest while I'm laying in bed watching shows.
Like The Walking Dead.
Like The Walking Dead, indeed.
So now are we up to one of my favorite parts of shows like this?
Your favorite.
Yeah.
We should have some music here. Somebody insert some music that's really stunning and orchestral. Da, 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 da.
Now, we're up to the part of the show where we talk about our pick of artist, writer, and publisher.
Troy.
Now, yes.
Now, he's going to have more to say than I am. So, Troy, you've got to start this.
Okay. I can't begin to tell you how many good comic writers there are working right now. Nathan Edmondson, Brian Michael Bendis. I could just keep going and going and going. And incidentally, let me give a quick shout out to the work of Meredith Finch on the new Wonder Woman series. Because if this is her inaugural work, if this is her debut, she's off to a good start. It's not necessarily the greatest comic I've ever read, but for someone who's just starting, this is pretty darn good. And David Finch's artwork on Wonder Woman, worth checking out, honestly. But I could go on all day long and talk about, Brian Michael Bendis on this, and Rick Remender on that, and Matt Fraction on this, Robert Kirkman on that. There's a whole metric ton of talent in
I've been enjoying
right
the
now.
Dan Slott.
Dan Slott, of course you have. But I got to talk about, this is my pick. This is my 2014 pick. Mr. Jason Aaron.
Oh.
Jason Aaron, Thor, God of Thunder. Thor. But for something completely different.
I think he was my pick last year.
Men of Wrath. Jason Aaron's Men of Wrath.
Okay.
And Southern Bastards.
Oh, right.
Okay. None of these things are like the other. So Jason Aaron can give you a story with a tone and a genre, and then he can give you a different story with a different tone and a different genre. There are things that he does very well. Characterization is the biggest one there. But These are, oh my God, they're just so good.
Just pause it. Just pause it. Whatever.
Yeah, really. Thor God of Thunder, Thor, Southern Bastards, Men of Wrath. Jason Aaron's written, he's got an incredible body of work. It's definitely, Google him, look up all his stuff, buy his stuff. Come get back issues, get new books, find out where he's going next. Stay with him. He's incredible.
I can't disagree.
He's going to talk about Dan Slott because he's really all on the Spider-Man bandwagon, but,
I am on the Spider-Man bandwagon this year, and like I said, I think it was last week's show. A couple of years ago, I was down on Dan Slott. I was thinking, Dan Slott, you've ruined everything. You're just another Joe Quesada ruining my porridge. Because I was in England, you see, when I saw Dan Slott in person last. And that's how they call it. But now, Amazing Spider-Man has re-earned its adjective. It is amazing again, and I am so thrilled. I just read the latest 2 issues this morning, along with some Bendis Spider-Man, along with some who else is writing the Spider books? There's so many Spider books, but a lot of them are Dan Slott. I've been just thrilled with that, and really this year, I want to give it to Dan Slott.
Okay, well, and you certainly may,
and not in a creepy way.
Yeah, context, phrasing. Let's go to artist.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, artists. There are a lot of amazing artists in comics right now.
Okay.
I already talked about David Finch a little bit.
Yeah.
And I could talk about Asad Ribic.
Yeah.
Also from Thor God of Thunder, even though that book has ended and he's moved on to other projects. Oh my God. I could talk about Jim Lee, the work that he did on Superman Unchained. I know that wasn't one of your favorites, but I could talk about Mark Bagley, his Hulk work. I could talk about, I could just go on and on. I honestly, I can't pick a favorite. I can't pick one.
I can. I'm going to go with, even though he's been rather focused this year, I'm going to say J.H. Williams III for his work, obviously, on Sandman Overture. It is, to me, probably the most beautiful art in a comic book that I have seen this year. Now, obviously, it's not very comic booky. It is very it's just painted. It's completely painted. And really, if I was going to go that way, there are some other folks with initials. Shout out to my good pal J.K. Yeah, J.H. Williams III.
Now, I think of artists like Howard Chaykin, who was doing the Shadow. Matt Wagner doing the Grendel Shadow. I just had some others right in my head just like 5 seconds ago.
Sorry to step on you.
Well, no, it's not really your fault there. I'm really all congested here. I'm all froggy. Don't know what's up with that.
Yeah, well.
But I'm gonna pick one because I got to pick somebody.
Yeah.
And at this moment in time, I'm gonna pick Tony S. Daniels on Deathstroke. The Deathstroke book is wonderfully penciled, beautiful illustrations, great colors, and the tone of the book is ultra-violent Deathstroke. It's what you would expect from this character, Deathstroke the Terminator. I could talk about Amanda Connor's work, and I love Amanda Connor's work, oh my God, Phil Noto. Can't not mention Phil Noto's work.
I didn't go crazy, with my writer or my artist, because obviously there's a ton of great.
But it's really hard not to.
Yeah,
it really is. You talk about your pick for the best of 2014. What are the criteria? There's so many different styles.
It is really hard,
art.
and if you ask me the same question tomorrow, I would give you a different answer, and not to invalidate my answers today because they're fantastic. But I might think, but I like this one for this other reason.
Like Brian Hitch. You like his work.
Yeah.
David Finch, you like his work.
I do.
It just goes on and on and on. But So let's go.
Oh, and I meant Woodward rather than Rowling or Simmons. I think I called him J.K. Simmons, and like the actor. I think in a previous episode.
Punched him in the face for you.
J.K. Woodward, fantastic guy.
So and now we're at publisher.
Publisher.
Okay. Now this is another category. It's hard for me to call.
Right.
I have my favorites.
Your ongoing favorite forever is. If you had to get rid of everything else but this one publisher, it would be...
Okay, I couldn't do that because every publisher publishes something that I can't do without. Marvel...
But if it was like Desert Island sort of thing, and you're going to be on a desert island for 20 years, but you can only bring the collected works of one publisher, who is it?
Oh, see, that's unfair because that's going to be Marvel because Marvel has the Avengers, and I can't not have the Avengers.
It's going to be Marvel for me as well.
But I really do have to say that a company that has made me pay attention to what they're publishing all over again, second time in my life, second time in my cycle of careers at comics, has been Dark Horse. Dark Horse Publishing, they've lost
Buffy.
The Star Wars license.
I know.
Have they let that slow them down? No, they have not. They've given us Prometheus, Predator, Aliens, the Fire and Stone story. They've given us Tim Seeley's story in Sundowners, which has been amazing. They gave us the story Pop. Dark Horse has continued to put out good titles, but they're not oversaturating. They're not going too far, too fast, too crazy. There's some licensed stuff in there, but there's also original material in there too.
That's true.
And that's why Dark Horse gets my nod as a publisher. I'm picking them as my publisher for 2014. Now, again, Marvel's got the Avengers. DC, they've got Jeff Johns. They've got the Justice League. They've got Aquaman. They've got the Flash. They've got Green Lantern and the Godhead story, which is amazement. They've got the really funny Harley Quinn. They've got the very engaging Future's End. Image, East of West, Jupiter's Legacy, Real Heroes, MPH, Walking Dead, Revival, Saga, Thief of Thieves, Peter Panzerfaust. Image is everywhere with a freaking good book. Copperheads, Tooth and Claw, Synergy, Rocher Limit. There's no limit to what Image can come out with. But Dark Horse, yeah, I think they are. I think that's exactly what they are. They are the Dark Horse.
They're the Dark Horse that's coming back again.
Cheval Noir. My French is terrible, and I know it, but... Cheval Noir.
All right. Yeah, they are doing well, and now I look forward to seeing what they fill that gap with. Now that Marvel starting this month?
January next month.
Couple of New Year. It's like the 5th or something like that. First week in January, we're getting that return to Marvel of Star Wars #1.
And who's the writer? Jason Aaron.
I sense a theme. In any case, I kind of want to shout out Titan Comics for the name. I'm fond of the name, but in all seriousness, for coming through with Doctor Who, I kind of want to look at IDW, who has had another great year. And of course, I'm always a Marvel zombie from head to toe. But really, for me, for the signal to noise, I'm gonna have to give it to Image. I never thought, if you'd asked me 10 years ago or 20 years ago, Image, you're gonna say in 2014, you're gonna say that Image is the top publisher. Or at least not maybe the top, but your favorite publisher, your most respected publisher, when it comes to comic books. I would say you're full of it, but today I'm saying it. I'm going to give Image my pick.
Yeah, I mean, look at how this company has just turned itself around and changed itself. With going from books like Youngblood and Wildcats and the superhero themed books that they were doing, which were all creator-owned properties.
Yeah.
Sticking with the theme of creators own their books, sticking with the theme of creators' rights. Creators come first. Sticking with that, we have Walking Dead, Revival, Thief of Thieves.
Such a vast variety.
Oddly Normal. Yeah, exactly. We have a variety. They're offering things that other people aren't offering, or they're taking something that maybe it's offered somewhere else. You've got a hardcore nuts and bolts sci-fi, like Copperhead, which is different from Dark Horse's Deep Gravity, which is different from Avatar's Caliban, and so on and so on. There's a lot to offer. Image is definitely, it's a company. You're probably reading some of their stuff as we're talking.
Yeah.
But Dark Horse, that's my pick for the company to watch.
All right. Well, I think that's our comics stuff. But
If I can just add one category that's not on here,
please,
just a quick one.
Please.
But you're going to have to reach into the bottom of your heart for this. I want to say something about our pick favorite superhero.
Favorite superhero for 2014.
Yes.
I'm going to have to, all right, you're going to have to give me a minute to think. Well, you go.
Okay. I love superheroes. I love the concept of superheroes. I love what they represent. I love what they represent in terms of their art and in terms of the historical value. But I'm going to go with this year with Prince Namor, the Submariner. The character evolutions have been going through Namor. I'm reading whatever book he turns up in, New Avengers, All New Invaders, Axis, anywhere. I'm looking, I'm reading, I'm seeing where this character is growing. Namor's been a favorite of mine for many, many years. I was a small child when I first was introduced to Submariner. He's still a favorite of mine. He's a significant character to Marvel since 1939, one of their big three. Yeah, Namor, he gets my nod.
Within comics themselves, within the universe of comics themselves,
He's going to say Spider-Man.
I want to look at your Carl Grimes. I want to look at so many characters that have struck a chord this year, but then I come back around and. Fine, it's Miles Morales, though. The Ultimate Spider-Man. Not that cartoon one, because that one's nonsense. Which the cartoon one is now in the comics.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Spider... It's
so
hilarious.
is Peter Porker.
And so, well, yeah, and everything in every genre is now in there. And...
So, yeah.
Yeah, read those Spider books. If you like any version of Spider-Man, you can find that version in the current
Miles
comics.
Morales Ultimate Spider-Man is an awesome comic to read.
I never thought that I would say that, because I thought, oh, he's just a stand-in. He's a throwaway character. They're going to get rid of him. No, he's Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm really
almost
enjoying him.
Universally, everyone that I've talked to who said, they're killing Peter Parker, they're bringing in this guy. Who's this guy? Almost every single person has come back going, oh, yeah, I love this Miles Morales character.
And spoilers, the Ultimate Peter Parker is back anyway, so whatever.
Gee, ruin the ride, why don't you?
However, it's a great ride, and you're really going to enjoy it. It doesn't matter. And in fact, it only enhances everything. It's fantastic. Yeah. You could be a kind of a cheat and say, I just choose Spider-Man, because that covers a heck of a lot now.
Yes, it does. All right, so with our picks of 2014 in the comic world,
be sure to watch and or listen to part 2 of this. If you're just listening on iTunes, you can just continue listening to this same show. But if you're watching, please do watch part 2, where we're going to talk about television, movies, video games, and more. And the
steak dinner that Kevin had, the best steak dinner he's had in 2014.
And that'll be 2014, and we'll see you next year.
From leaping tall buildings to going off like gamma bombs. Switch your internet browser to ComicsOnline.com.